messing through the FX1. Hopefully I'll get 2 going, but not anytime soon. Lemur guy there with my hour makeover thing that's far from finished.
So this is the main controller for the lights and the eyes as well?
No, actually this controls, well, the way I have it set up now is just doing audio repeats on and different loops and sequences for that, and then these are the levels for my kind of live set that I was talking about on channel 4 there. And then this is the little sequencing device there, which is just going to run me through, you know, all these various loops and what have you.
So you've got pre-programmed sort of sequences?
Yeah, pre-programmed loops and sequences and stuff, and then the top half is all loops, bottom half is all just one-shots.
Okay, so you can use it as a trigger as well, just to put on little percussive things?
Exactly.
Start out as a laptop and then you got the Lemur and the Zone?
Well, I started out, kind of just with the laptop and a couple of MIDI controllers, like just simple M audio, like trigger finger or the Korg Control 49 surfaces to trigger clips and then trigger different like parts of live. And I guess as it kind of went, I wanted to find more modular bits or modular control surfaces that I could further program, because I found with kind of pre-existing knob panel sets and stuff like that, you were kind of limited to only what, you know, was accessible right at your fingertips. So devices like the Lemur and the Monami, you know, were really attractive to me because they're very open source, so to speak, because you could design your own panel sets. And I guess as you can kind of see here, I have a new panel set in progress, and as I'm designing it on screen here, you can actually see it interacting with the device here, so you can, you know, mix and match all your control surface items, albeit a knob, a fader, or a toggle, or a switch, and you can assign, you know, anything you want in the world of MIDI and OSC to have that kind of communicate with live. So that's I like using live as, you know, a live platform for performing because it's the most versatile system that I could find that will let you incorporate kind of MIDI control into track selection or like cue points and you know, kind of accessing your crate and you know, controlling effects and all that, which was just really just a matter of wiring MIDI to the parameters of your VSTs or certain commands within the application. The way I use live in my live set is actually kind of a weird hybrid way to do it. What I have is I've dedicated 2 channels of just tracks, straight up tracks, no special cue points or loops cut or anything, just flat out. And basically is my A deck and my B deck, which corresponds to 1 and 2 on the Zone 4D. But the way that I have it bussed out is I'll have these 2 tracks, you know, going to a singular bus here that gets outputted to that Zone 4D. So I have the actual Zone 4D channels here. And then it's here where I'll apply different plugins and stuff like that on top of that. So when I'm assigning, you know, a track on my A channel here, and then I want to mix it with another track here, and I can't hear it, but I'll have a kind of similar layout here for my output, so I can use buffer repeats. And I hope that works. I don't know, I'm kind of in the middle of redoing it right now. And then I have a third track, which is just kind of a hodgepodge, whatever, where I'll go in and I'll just take little loops, like on the fly, grab a track and throw it over there, and then make a quick loop of it, and then leave it. So that's just some other element I can kind of have going in between mixing 2 of the other ones. And then I have I call it like a live track. So this is where like the live performance area comes in, because on my 4th output, I'll have, you know, nothing but, oh, and my MIDI got knocked out, great. But imagining this worked, you know, I would have a loop there, a synth here, a kick drum here, and some extra sequence bits coming out of the monomy here, and then I would have various parameter access to, you know, albeit the kicks and whatnot, or you know, the synths and cutoff resonance, and you know, your basic stuff to kind of organize something, so that way I can plot out my sequences on the monomy 256 and just see it all there. Have live just running the show in the back there, so I don't even have to look at that, and then I look at that to see where all my control parameters are and whatnot. But and as I was doing that, you know, I got thinking it was really cool and all that, but it wasn't sounding as good as my productions, which was like my biggest downfall, and I think a lot of guys' downfall when they're performing dance music live, is you cannot get it sounding audiophysically as good as you know, your productions. And if you could, in theory, you know, load up one of your productions on the computer and play it back, but you know, productions sometimes get so intricate in the files, the way that everything's structured, and the way the plugins work, and the way that you have chains set up, is you can only perform one track really well, and then that's the end of it. So what I've kind of done is I've set up the most craziest little routing system for live, and for the most part it involves a bit of buffer size calculation, so that, you know, when you're adding these insane processing plugins like compressors with key inputs and maximizers and spatializers and things that you would normally use in a production that you want to now use live, you know, start to add crazy latency to various channels and stuff like that. Now when you're producing, you know, that can all be corrected as easily as moving a wave, but you know, you're pretty hard pressed to do that when you're doing it all on the fly. So I have here is kind of like, I just call it percussion channel, which is all sorts of little sampled analog blips and bloops, one-shots, which all get sequenced in the lemur, and then it runs through a grain delay and a reverb and all that. But all this stuff gets routed to this compressor channel. I can't show you this compressor because it's not done yet, but it has a key input kind of thing, and we're sending all this stuff to that, and then I'm running just one channel called kick, and then all it is just a sampler that runs just a straight up kick right to the compressor. And what it's doing is it's sending that, well, you don't hear it because it's on post, or sorry, it's on pre-fade, and the volume of the faders are actually pulled all the way down. It's going to this compressor, and it's squashing everything that comes in. And then when all of that is summed, you know, and you have like all this percussion stuff, and it's getting ducked and compressed, or however the way you did it with the kick, you know, it sounds a lot fuller, but it's not quite there yet. And now if you go to the live channel that goes to the mixer here, I have like just this free little plugin that's just been such a lifesaver for me, and it's you know, it doesn't take up, you know, like the amount of processor and stuff that Waves would do, and it's called the W1 by this guy named Young, and all it is a maximizer really, but it's not as good as you know, like an L1 or the L2 or the L3 and what have you, with like, you know, all those crazy multi-band compression options and crazy CPU cycles and stuff like that. But like in a club or on a big system, you know, it's pretty all right. It's acceptable by far. So what that's doing is just beefing up that live channel. So now when I do a live jam on this channel and play it through, and then A and B it between that and, you know, one of these two channels that come from, you know, the record crate, so to speak, it's pretty on par with it. And that's something, you know, that's much to be desired in live performances. You spend a lot of time working on productions and getting them sounding right, but there's just very few means to get to do that live for longer than 15 to 20 minutes. You can do very good dance music live, but a very limited amount of time. Or you could do really crappy dance music for as long as you want live, you know, uncompressed, unmastered, you know, and unmixed and stuff like that. So, you know, I think I've found a nice little happy solution that's not too cheating. Like a lot of these, like all these little loops that I've cut out and stuff like that are, you know, obviously pre-done, but you know, I can mix and match and do all sorts of crazy stuff. I feed in. Like I have a reverb on one loop, and I'll just jack up the reverb on that and then freeze the reverb, and that kind of gives you this noise. But then when you feed it into that compressor, it's giving it that pumping noise feeling, and then you can mix that in with, you know, another track, which adds noise to it really, but you know, in such a fidelic way that it's not too offensive. It's not just like white noise mixed onto something else, and it's like, okay, great, you know. So it's, I think the way that Ableton allows you to do that kind of routing and keeping things in BPM, and everything is locked, and you know, all your tracks, even though they vary in BPMs and stuff like that, you know, you can pretty much warp within reason, you know, and it's a beautiful thing.
Do you use VST instruments live as well? Is that what you feel?
Yeah, I do, but it's on another system, which isn't. I currently travel with 4 computers, 2 MacBook Pros and 2 shuttles, which are just PC based, all running live. One of the major fallbacks though is sync. And I really wish the guys at Ableton would kind of come up. I don't even care if they do a proprietary synchronization system that is only for Ableton, but MIDI is just not doing it. I would really love sample accurate sync between Ableton Live and another Ableton Live. Another way around it is to use, what I've done is I use one PC to send out MTC, which is pretty close. But it's the only way Ableton can relocate back to another point when you hit stop. Otherwise, you know, it just kind of loses the clock if you use just normal MIDI clock. And MIDI clock is shady. And then I have to do this all over the Ethernet too, which is a little bit better than straight up MIDI cables using the devices on sound cards, because you're adding latency and, you know, you have buffer conflicts and all that stuff too, unless you have sound card A and sound card B, you know, sample locked over SMPTE. But
so what are the synths that you use live? Are they different to ones you would choose for the studio for any other?
Yeah. A lot of the synths that I use live are just mostly soft synths. I'm working closely with a company called FXpansion here in Shoreditch, actually in London, and they're producing some really crazy things coming up soon to be released. Can't talk too much about it, but they've attributed to that Deadmau5 sound for a long while in VST land. When it comes to performing with them, I like their preset load and recall stuff, because they have implemented the loading of next or last preset as a VST parameter. So you can wire that parameter to any of your outboard stuff and then just call up another one if you know the order. And really, I would say there's maybe room for about 20 or 30 minutes live performance per preset within, you know, a series of 3 or 4 tracks. Otherwise, then it's like you're hearing the same sound through the whole set. That's not really something you want to do. So being able to flip through presets and sounds using their new synth pack coming out is going to be wicked.
So that's what you're using. You're using something that's not even released yet, and you're
Yeah.
using it out of the show tonight.
Yeah, a little bit of it. Yep, and just not too much, because it's a lot to take on. I mean, you could really just jam out big time with you know, having kind of 2 sets of tracks running down, and then like a reserve channel for when you're doing edits. That's emulating the DJ in a way, which, you know, has tried, tested, and true over the last 10 years. Seemed to work, you know. But, you know, it's always good to push it and see how much you can do. It's like moving past that and an additional channel for, like, you know, where I can mute these 2 channels altogether and then still be able to perform, you know, like a good bit of on-the-fly music, which is a very lovely thing to do. But again, past that, you're stepping into a world of hate when it comes to live performance. There's a lot of stuff to keep track of, like what's synths on what channel and what's doing what, you know. And if it was kind of split up between a couple people, you know, those people would have to be pretty in sync as to what's going on. But I mean, jazz musicians hadn't had a problem with that over the last, you know, 50 years. So I suspect people will become more in tune with technology and the methodology of performing it, as opposed to just using it exclusively as a production tool.